Okay, with this one, I'm going to start with chapter 12 and we'll read to 15, maybe 16, depending on the timing. And as usual, on the links and different websites that I've looked up the information on, I'll put in the description box. But as you look at all of them, I want you to ask the Holy Spirit to give you discernment, because only God knows for sure what things would really be the fulfilling of these prophecies. In one way or another, he will definitely make sure we will find out. But either way, like I said, ask him to give you discernment. Okay. And there appeared a great wonder in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun, and the moon under her feet, and upon her head a crown of 12 stars. And she, being with child, cried, travailing in birth, and pain to be delivered. And there appeared another wonder in heaven, and behold, a great red dragon, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and 7 crowns upon his heads. And his tail drew the third part of the stars of heaven, and did cast them to the earth. And the dragon stood before the woman, which was ready to be delivered, for to devour her child as soon as it was born. And she brought forth the man-child who was to rule all nations with rods of iron. And her child was caught up unto God and to his throne. And the woman fled into the wilderness, where she have a place prepared of God, that they should feed her there 1,260 days. And there was war in heaven. Michael and his angels fought against the dragon, and the dragon fought and his angels, and prevailed not, neither was their place found any more in heaven. And the great dragon was cast out, that old serpent called the devil and Satan, which deceives the whole world. He was cast out into the earth, and his angels were cast out with him. And I heard a loud voice saying in heaven, Now is come salvation and strength, and the kingdom of our God, and the power of his Christ. For the accuser of our brethren is cast down, which accused them before our God day and night. And they overcame him by the blood of the Lamb, and by the word of their testimony. And they loved not their lives unto death. Therefore rejoice, ye heavens, and ye that dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea, for the devil is come down unto you, having great wrath, because he knows that he has but a short time. And when the dragon saw that he was cast unto the earth, he persecuted the woman, which brought forth the man-child. And to the woman were given 2 wings of a great eagle, that she might fly into the wilderness, into her place, where she is nourished for a time and times and half a time from the face of a serpent. And the serpent cast out of his mouth water as a flood after the woman, that he might cause her to be carried away of the flood. And the earth helped the woman, and the woman opened her mouth. And the earth opened her mouth and swallowed up the flood, which the dragon cast out of his mouth. And the dragon was wroth with the woman, and went to make war with the remnant of her seed, which keep the commandments of God, and have the testimony of Jesus Christ. Okay, so far what I found out about Revelation 12, obviously everybody agrees that the dragon is Satan. And one of the theories I found is that the woman represents God's people, meaning Israel. They also said that the sun was the New Testament and the moon was the Old Testament. And to give birth was the incarnation of Jesus Christ. The pains, they compared it to Isaiah 66, verses 5 through 12. I would go there, but for saving of time, right now I won't. And the part where it talks about that the dragon was waiting to eat the child, they compared it to when Herod actually killed all the children, the boy children of Israel that were from the ages of 2 and under. Because right around the time when Jesus was born, Herod had heard about the prophecy of a child being born in Bethlehem. So he told his guards to go to Bethlehem and to kill every child that was born 2 and under in an attempt to try to kill Jesus. And they, let's see. I'm looking at my notes real quick here. The other one I found, they said that the offspring represents the Gentiles who comes to Jesus. So where it says that the let me go back here real quick. Okay. Where it talked about the children of the woman, and they said that, like I said, they said it was the Gentiles who comes to Jesus, meaning the church. And in that one particularly, they made a comparison to Joseph's dream, which you can find in Genesis 37, verses 9 through 11. Because Joseph has a vision, and in this vision he sees the sun and the moon and the stars bowing to him, and how they figured that was that the sun meant Jacob, and the moon was Rachel, and the stars was Joseph's brothers. They also believe that travail meant the oppression from Rome back in Jesus' time. But when it talks about when the serpent cast down the stars, like right here in verse 4, his tail drew the third part of the stars of heaven. A lot of people believe that meant basically the fallen angels that joined Satan. And where it talks about when Michael and his angels fights against him, a lot of people believe that event will happen during the midpoint of the 7-year tribulation. There was more stuff that they have said about Revelation 12, but by the time I tried to write everything, I wouldn't have enough time to talk about the other chapters. So I just wrote down a few things in my notes for timing's sake. But I put down the links of both of those different pages that I found talking about Revelation 12 and the 2 different theories on things. I remember also years ago there's this person made a YouTube video about, well, literally the stars, and that they compared the woman to a Virgo, meaning the Virgin, and they saw that Jupiter was coming around a Virgo in the stars, and they figured that Jupiter represented Jesus and all this. I'll see if I can find that video for you. And it was pretty interesting, the comparisons and stuff, but the only problem I had with that theory was the fact where it says that the earth helped a woman and the earth opened her mouth. So if it was all just signs in the stars, how would this happen? Because for me, I wonder, where it talks about the earth helped a woman but opened its mouth, I wonder if that might talk about an earthquake. Because before that, when it talks about that the serpent casting forth a flood to go after the woman, I personally speculate that might be talking about people of nations that follows him to persecute Israel or the church or the church. And one reason why I think this could be an earthquake, let me go back real quick to Numbers 16, verses 29 through 33. Okay, I'm in Numbers now, at chapter 16, and this is what, okay, just to give a recap, Moses is still in the wilderness with Israel, and the children of Israel constantly complaining to him about this and that, and now he's got some men that are sitting there trying to rise up against him. So this is what's, and some of their names are Dathan and Korah and Abiram, I think is how you pronounce it. But this is what happens here. Moses gets up and this is what he tells them. And Moses said, "Hereby you shall know that the Lord hath sent me to do all these works, for I have not done them of my own mind. If these men die, the common death of all men, or if they be visited after the visitation of all men, then the Lord hath not sent me. But if the Lord make a new thing, and the earth open her mouth, and swallow them up, with all that appertain unto them, and they go down quick into the pit, then ye shall understand that these men have provoked the Lord." And it came to pass, as he had made an end of speaking all these words, that the ground clave asunder that was under them, and the earth opened her mouth and swallowed them up, and their horses, and all the men that appertained unto Korah, and all their goods, They and all that appertained to them went down alive into the pit, and the earth closed upon them, and they perished from among the congregation. So because right here, it's obviously talking about some sort of earthquake, but I mean, what I'm trying to point out is the language that's being said here, talking about the earth opened her mouth, and 32, and I believe it was also in 30. And because when we go back here, on verse 16 in Revelation 12, because the language here looks very similar to what we read in Numbers, for me, it just makes me speculate that this is talking about a possible earthquake. So that's where my thoughts are on that. Again, drop in the comments, what you think. If you might believe this might possibly be something else, let me know. I mean, this is an open discussion thing. Just please be respectful, because we're not here to argue. We're just here trying to figure out what the truth is. Okay, let's not make a big old nasty debate about it. Okay, now let's move on to chapter 13. "And I stood upon the sand of the sea, and saw a beast rise up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and upon his horns 10 crowns, and upon his heads the name of blasphemy. And the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard, and his feet were as the feet of a bear, and his mouth as the mouth of a lion. And the dragon gave him his power and his seat and great authority. And I saw one of his heads as it were wounded to death, and his deadly wound was healed, and all the world wondered after the beast. And they worshipped the dragon, which gave power unto the beast, and they worshipped the beast, saying, Who is like unto the beast, who is able to make war with him? And there was given unto him a mouth speaking great things and blasphemies, and power was given unto him to continue 42 months. And he opened his mouth and blasphemed against God, to blaspheme his name in his tabernacle, and to them that dwell in heaven. And it was given unto him to make war with the saints, and to overcome them, and power was given him over all kindreds and tongues and nations. and all that dwell upon the earth shall worship him whose names are not written in the book of life of the Lamb slain from the foundation of the world. If any man have an ear, let him hear. He that leads into captivity shall go into captivity. He that kills with the sword must be killed with the sword. Here is the patience and the faith of the saints. And I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth, and he had 2 horns like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon. And he exercised all the power of the first beast before him, and causes the earth and them which dwell therein to worship the first beast, whose deadly wound was healed. And he does great wonders, so that he makes fire come down from heaven on the earth in the sight of men, and deceives them that dwell on the earth by the means of those miracles which he had power to do in the sight of the beast, saying to them that dwell on the earth, that they should make an image to the beast which had the wound by the sword and did live. And he had power to give life unto the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak and cause that as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed. And he causes all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in the right hand or in their foreheads, and that no man might buy or sell, save he that had the mark, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name. Here is wisdom. Let him that hath understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 666. Now this is where everything starts to heat up. Well, I should say heat up more, probably the proper way to put this. And remember in the book of Daniel, it talked about the little horn that will speak blasphemous words against God. And it talked about the abomination of desolation. They will speak against God. So that's why a lot of people compare the person in Daniel to the Antichrist here in Revelation. There's so many different theories out there on who the Antichrist is. Right now, there's some that believe that's Barack Obama. Some believe it's Donald Trump. Some speculate even that it might be Donald Trump's son-in-law, Jared Kushner. But I personally think that he hasn't really came out just yet. I'm talking about the Antichrist. I think he's still kind of laying low in the background still. He might possibly be out in the political world right now, but I think, in my personal opinion, I think he's still laying low. That he's just waiting for the right moment to pop up, so to speak. As far as the false prophet goes, I personally think that it's the Pope. I think the Pope is a strong candidate. And the reason why I'm saying it is because where it talks about that the second beast, first of all, he will look like a lamb having horns, and he will perform miracles. So a lot of people perceive the second beast to be some sort of religious man. And the Pope that's here today, he has done things that are against God in so many ways, accepting things within the church that aren't of God. And there was even a old Catholic prophecy that talks about I think it was 122 popes, and it was a prophecy of Saint Malachi, I think that's how you say his name. And the Pope that's alive right now, that's there in the papacy right now is perceived to be that last Pope. I'm looking at my notes again real quick, if you don't mind. Some people try to figure out who the Antichrist is by literally numbering out the person's name. The children of Israel came up with this cool thing where you can actually calculate somebody's name and it comes up a certain number. I don't really know how they really do it. It's called Gematria. I'm not really sure how it's pronounced. It's Gmatria. And I actually got a link to this to where you can put a name or something up there and it'll pop up the number. But over time, actually in the past, when they tried using the system, they came with Adolf Hitler and Napoleon. All their names came up with the 666. So you could literally you could literally number up somebody's name, and it'll come up a certain number. Is how that works. And where it talks about right here at the end, where it says, let's see, the number of a man, the number of a lot of people, okay, I was looking at the wrong verse, right here, or the name of, or the number of, because of that, a lot of people believe that maybe the mark could possibly be the beast's name, maybe. I personally think it's going to be a little mark that has the 666. I also speculate that it could possibly be a chip. But either way, in order for something to fit the criteria of the mark, it has to go either right in the forehead or in the right hand. They also say that you cannot buy or sell without it. And again, it has to have the number of his name or the number, which is or both, which is the 666. I'm gonna say the mark me both. It'll probably have his name, or at least it'll have the number. But either way, it has to be something that will contain the mark. It has to be something that, again, that will go either in the right hand or in the forehead. And they will say that you cannot buy or sell without it. Those are key things here. And some people wonder if COVID, a vaccine, is the mark. I personally don't think it is. I think it's a precursor to it. I don't think the vaccine itself right now is it. I think it's a precursor to it. Because right now they're talking about making a chip to basically track down those who are vaccinated, to tell a difference between who's vaccinated and who isn't, kind of thing. So again, I think the COVID-19 vaccine is a precursor to the mark. But there's, like I said, there's many different theories on who the Antichrist is. There's different theories on who the false prophet is. Some people would even suspect to say that the Pope might be the Antichrist. I personally don't agree. I think he fits more into the false prophet criteria. But, that's me. That's how I personally feel, that's my personal opinion on it. But let's go ahead and go to 14. I think I'm going to... I might just stop at 14. I didn't realize it was going to drag us out this long. I'm sorry. Okay, 14. Quickly. And I looked, and lo, a Lamb stood on the Mount Sion, and with him 144,000, having his Father's name written in their foreheads. And I heard a voice from heaven, as the voice of many waters, and the voice of great thunder. And I heard a voice of harpers harping with their harps. And they sung as it were a new song before the throne, and before the four beasts and the elders, and no man could learn that song but the 144,000 which were redeemed from the earth. These are they which were not defiled with women, for they are virgins. These are they which follow the Lamb whithersoever he goes. These were redeemed from among men, being the firstfruits unto God and to the Lamb. And their mouth was found no guile. And in their mouth was found no guile, for they are without fault before the throne of God. And I saw another angel fly in the midst of heaven, having the everlasting gospel to preach unto them that dwell on the earth, and to every nation and kindred and tongue and people, saying with a loud voice, Fear God, and give glory to him, for the hour of his judgment is come, and worship him that made heaven and earth, and the sea, and the fountains of waters. And there followed another angel, saying, Babylon is fallen, that great city, because she made all nations drink of the wine of the wrath of her fornication. And the third angel followed them, saying with a loud voice, If any man worship the beast and his image, and receive his mark in his forehead or in his hand, the same shall drink of the wine of the wrath of God, which is poured without mixture into the cup of his indignation, and he shall be tormented with fire and brimstone in the presence of the holy angels and in the presence of the Lamb. And the smoke of their torment ascends up for ever and ever, and they have no rest day nor night, who worship the beast and his image, and whosoever receives the mark of his name. Here is the patience of the saints. Here are they that keep the commandments of God and the faith of Jesus. And I heard a voice from heaven saying unto me, Right blessed are the dead which die in the Lord from henceforth. Yea, said the Spirit, that they may rest from their labors, and their works do follow them. And I looked, and behold, a white cloud, and upon the cloud one sat like unto the Son of Man, having his head a golden crown, and in his hand a sharp sickle. And another angel came out to the temple, crying with a loud voice to him that sat on the cloud, Thrust in thy sickle and reap, for the time is come for you to reap, for the harvest of the earth is ripe. And he that sat on the cloud thrust in his sickle on the earth, and the earth was reaped. And another angel came out of the temple which is in heaven, he also having a sharp sickle. And another angel came out from the altar which had power over fire, and cried with a loud cry to him that had the sharp sickle, saying, Thrust in thy sharp sickle, and gather the clusters of the vine of the earth, for her grapes are fully ripe. And the angel thrust in his sickle into the earth, and gathered the vine of the earth, and cast it into the great winepress of the wrath of God. And the winepress was trodden without the city, and blood came out of the wilderness onto the horse bridles by the space of 1,600 furlongs. Okay, real quick. I'm going back to the Antichrist. I forgot to mention something. Where it talks about where his deadly wound was healed. Many speculate that someone will literally murder or try to murder the Antichrist, and then he'll miraculously be healed, and then he'll come up and say that he's God. A lot of people, and people speculate that because a lot of things that Satan tries to do, he tries to make a mockery of the things that God does. Like he tries to come up with a different version of things that he does. Kind of thing. So that's why some people speculate that could happen. And also it kind of would be the great thing, because that would be kind of like the nail coffin of how to convince people to follow him if he miraculously was raised from the dead. But that's all I'm going to do for now, and I'll go into 15 and 16, the next one. Hope all is well with you all. I love you all. May the Lord be with you. Shalom.